Hi everyone, and welcome back to the Shanny Show. Let's get into 17 books you can read for Pride Month. For the books on this list, I only have physical copies for 2 of the books that I'm suggesting. All the other books I am borrowing through Libby, through Overdrive, and I have linked both Libby and Overdrive down below in the description. First up is Kiss Her Once for Me by Alison Cochran. A little forewarning, this is a holiday Christmas read, so just be aware of that going into it, especially if you're going into it during Pride Month and you're kind of like me where you don't necessarily read Christmas books, consume holiday media outside of December. I personally am reading this one in June for Pride Month, partly because I did feel like I wanted a Christmas story and that I needed one, and also partly because we have a LGBTQIA+ / queer relationship, specifically lesbian. Next up is The London Seance Society by Sarah Penner. I was actually surprised by this one because when I read it, I was not expecting an LGBTQIA+ queer aspect to this book, but there is one. It's very subtle and it's not the main point of the story, but it is there, and I think it's a good book that has some queer representation, again specifically lesbian representation. Now for the next 15 books, I will try to share what representation they have, and if you know what the representation is, please comment down below because I would love to be able to share that. For a majority of these books, I'm pretty sure, but please feel free to correct me down in the comments below. First up is Both Can Be True by Jules Macias, I'm pretty sure. We have our main character Ash, who's transferred to a new school, identifies as gender fluid, and finds a boy that they are interested in. And at the time of the start of the book, Ash had been identifying as female, but is now starting to feel like he identifies as a boy. Again, Ash is gender fluid, although he hasn't necessarily always said, oh, I identify as gender fluid. And coming to a new school, meeting a boy that Ash likes, he's not entirely sure that he wants to come out immediately and say, I identify as gender fluid and right now I go by he, him pronouns. Next up is The Book of Pride by Mason Funk. This one is basically an overall history and overview of the Pride movement, the LGBTQIA+ movement, through a series of interviews by big names, leaders, and ordinary people within the LGBTQIA+ movement and community. For the next couple of books, I will be looking at the Goodreads pages and synopses for these books. So if you see me looking down, that's why. It's just to help me get an idea of what these books are about. Next up is She Gets the Girl by Rachel Lippincott and Allison Derrick. This is about 2 girls, Alex Blackwood and Molly Parker. Alex just got through a bad but hopefully not permanent breakup. Molly wants to be able to talk to the girl she's in love with, and they're on the same college campus and they meet up the night before classes start, and they kind of start to realize, hey, we have a lot in common and maybe we can help each other out. Next up is Pixels of You, and this is by Ananth Hirsch, Yuko Ota, and J.R. Doyle, who's the artist. If I'd said any of the names incorrectly, please let me know in the comments. This is a sci-fi story set in the future where augmentation and AI have basically revolutionized how people live. Indira is a human girl who's been cybernetically augmented after a really bad accident, and Fawn is one of the first human-presenting AI. They both end up at the same internship, both don't think very much of each other's art, of each other's photography, and there's a public blowout, and their mentor puts them together and forces them to work on a project together to get past their public blowout. Next up is, I feel like, one of the more popular LGBTQIA+ books, specifically a Killian-esque romance, the male loves male romances. And this story is about Crest, who, like any other mer teen, has to go on this journey up to the land, the surface area, to interact with the humans. And there are a couple of rules to this journey that they have to do. Is to help a human within 1 moon cycle and return to Pacifica to become an elder, or fail and remain stuck on land forever. Crest is eager to get this journey over with because they don't really like humans. Humans polluted the planet, polluted the waters, so it's like, I don't want to deal with humans. They're disgusting. But in LA, in a human body, Crest meets Sean, a human lifeguard, and Sean recently got out of a relationship with an ex-boyfriend. Crest agrees to help Sean to make Sean's ex jealous and hopefully get Sean's ex back. The next book I'm kind of throwing in here because I realized I forgot I had it. I knew I had it, but I almost forgot to include it in this video. And that is The Song of Achilles by Madeline Miller. This is another really popular Achillean romance, LGBTQIA romance. It is based off of the Trojan War and specifically Achilles and Patroclus and their relationship. Next is Once and Future by A.R. Capetta and Corey McCarthy. We have our main character Ari, who crash lands on old Earth and pulls a magic sword from its ancient resting place and is then revealed to be the newest incarnation of King Arthur. After that, Ari meets Merlin, who's been aging backwards in time, and by the time Ari meets Merlin, Merlin is a teenager. And together they have to break a curse that keeps the Arthur reincarnations coming back, and to do so they have to defeat the oppressive government and bring back the peace. Next up is 7 Ways to Lie by Riley Redgate. This is a high school setting, and it's sort of based off of the 7 deadly sins. Set at Paloma High School, rumors of a teacher-student affair start to bubble over, and people start hunting for someone to blame, someone to point the finger at. And there are 7 unlikely allies at the heart of this scandal, and their collision really starts to change their lives in ways they never expected. The next book in this list is Miss Meteor by Taylor K. Mejia and Anna Marie McLemore. I don't think I said those names right, so please correct me again. There's this beauty pageant called Miss Meteor, and there's never been a beauty pageant winner who looks like our main characters, Lita Perez or Chicky Quintanilla. Lita wants to enter because of that, and her ex-best friend Chicky wants to help her, but they both have side reasons, extra reasons that they're not sharing as to why they want to enter the contest. Next up is another popular LGBTQIA/queer romance. I've seen it a lot on Book Talk, and that is The Once and Future Witches by Alex E. Harrow. Set in 1893, witches are a thing of the past, they no longer exist, and anything that's witchy is in nursery rhymes. But the 3 Eastwood sisters, James Juniper, Agnes Amaranth, and Beatrice Belladonna, I feel like there should be 4 sisters, they join the cause of the suffragists in New Salem, but they begin to pursue the old and forgotten words and ways that might turn the suffragists women's movement into the witches movement. Next up is Every Word You Never Said by Jordan Green. This is about 2 young boys. Skylar Gray, who is adopted and nonverbal, feels most comfortable wearing skirts. He transferred to a brand new school with new parents in a completely new state, and he's interested in this really gorgeous rocker-esque boy named Jacob, who doesn't really give a damn, doesn't really give a shit about anything, especially when he came out in the summer as gay. And they quickly click together, they get along well together. When Jacob did come out, he expected his dad's wrath, but once Jacob's dad's wrath turns on Skylar, Jacob has to make a decision. Next up is Some Girls Do by Jennifer Duggan. We have our 2 main characters, Morgan, who is an elite track athlete star, and she's forced to transfer in high school late her senior year because being queer is against her Catholic school's code of conduct. And at her new school, she meets Ruby, who likes tinkering with her baby blue 1970 Ford Torino and competing in the local beauty pageants, the latter to live out her overbearing mother's dreams. They're drawn to each other instantly and can't deny the growing feelings. Morgan, who's out and proud, doesn't want to keep their relationship a secret, but at the same time, Ruby isn't ready to come out yet. Next up is another Jennifer Duggan story, and that is Verona Comics. We have our 2 main characters, Jubilee, who's an elite cellist, and when she's not working in her stepmother's indie comic shop, she's prepping for the biggest audition of her life. And we also have Riley, who's barely holding it together. His parents are the owners of the biggest comic store chain in the country, and apparently he can't stop disappointing them. Jubilee and Ridley meet one night at the comic convention prom, and they can't help falling in love, but their parents are constantly at each other's throats because of the business they're in. As Riley's anxiety spirals, Jubilee tries to help, but finds her focus torn between her fast approaching audition and their intensifying relationship. Next up is Devon and Chris Plan a Wedding by Chensia C. Higgins. Instant Ideal could be Chris Savella's big break. She's right on the cusp of really making it, so a stint on reality TV is the perfect chance to elevate her brand, and $100,000 wouldn't hurt either. Devon Miller is just trying to break out of her shell. She's sort of neglected to come out to her mom for years, so a big splashy fake wedding is just the excuse she needs. And all they have to do is convince their friends and family that they're getting married in 6 weeks. If anyone guesses they're not for real, they're out. Selling their chemistry on camera is surprisingly easy, and it's still there when no one else is watching, which is an unexpected bonus. But each week of the competition brings new challenges, and soon the prize money is not the only thing at stake. A reality show isn't the best place to create a solid foundation, and their fake wedding might just derail their relationship before it even starts. Again, I'm looking down so I can read the Goodreads synopsis. Next up is The Library of the Unwritten by A.J. Hackworth. Many years ago, Claire was named head librarian of the Unwritten Wing, a neutral space in hell where all the stories unfinished by their authors reside. Her job consists mainly of repairing and organizing books, but also keeping an eye on restless stories that risk materializing as characters and escaping the library. When a hero escapes from his book and goes in search of his author, Claire must track and capture him with the help of former muse and current assistant Brevity and nervous demon courier Lita. And then lastly is The Long Way to a Small Angry Planet by Becky Chambers. Rosemary Harper doesn't expect much when she joins the crew of the aging Wayfarer. While the patched up ship has seen better days, it offers her a bed, a chance to explore the far off corners of the galaxy, and most importantly, some distance from her past. Life aboard the Wayfarer is chaotic and crazy, exactly what Rosemary wants. It's also about to get extremely dangerous when the crew is offered the job of a lifetime, but risking her life wasn't part of the plan. So those are 18 books that you can read during Pride Month and that you can focus on during this month. Thank you all for watching, and stay tuned for my next video.